Welcome to the Laughter Clinic podcast with comedian and suicidologist Mark McConville, bringing you practical, evidence-based self-care strategies, the latest research in mental health, along with conversations that inspire, educate, and entertain. This is the Laughter Clinic podcast with your host, Mark McConville.
Hi folks, my name's Mark McConville. Welcome to the Laughter Clinic podcast. I would like to introduce you to my first guest, a gentleman by the name of Craig Coombes. Back in 2012, Craig was given 18 months to live. And in this conversation, we talk about how humour, laughter, friendship and social connection has not only changed but shaped this man's life ever since. It's a wonderful story of overcoming the odds and how making other people happy brings you happiness. It's really, he's an inspiring guy. I have two content warnings in relation to my chat with Craig though. At the 55-minute mark, Craig does start to talk about suicide ideation and his thoughts of taking his own life. So listener discretion is advised at the 55-minute mark. That goes for about 3 minutes. And 1 hour and 8 minutes into the conversation, Craig starts to talk about putting in place an advanced care plan around his end of life. So that part of the conversation goes for about 5 minutes. Other than that, like I said, it's a wonderful story of how humour and laughter and friendship have really shaped and changed this man's life. So please, I invite you to enjoy my conversation with my friend Craig Coombes.
Welcome, Craig Coombes. I'm so excited to be chatting with you today, mate, and the fact that you have agreed to be my first ever guest on the Laughter Clinic podcast for a chat. It really means a lot to me, mate, so thank you so much for being here.
It's my privilege and my honour, mate, not yours.
Well, I'm stoked for our chat today. Now, being the first ever podcast, I've got a question that I'm going to pose to all of our guests, but I'm very interested to hear your thoughts on this question. So it centers around the saying that laughter is the best medicine, because this is a saying that spans from ancient Hebrew texts that talk about, you know, a merry heart doeth good like medicine, right through to, you know, modern day research that supports both the physical and the psychological benefits of humour and laughter, which is great because I firmly believe that there's a big difference between the physical benefits of laughter and the psychological benefits of using our sense of humour as a way of coping with stress and building resilience and dealing with challenging times. Yep. So for you, Craig Coombes, when you hear the saying laughter is the best medicine, what meaning does that hold to you personally in your life, and how have you seen humour and laughter create change in and around you?
Well, I totally agree with you for a start, because it is. I mean, I'm pretty fond of codeine and oxycodone and morphine and all that as well. They do help.
Yeah.
But you got to get a prescription to REM. Laughter is free.
That's right.
Which is a great thing. And it's something I live by, and I can attest to the fact that it works.
Yeah.
I have no doubt it works.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting to. I've just started to read Norman Cousins' book about the anatomy of an illness, and it's so interesting that here's a guy in the 1970s that was prescribing himself, you know, comedy films, and he talks about, you know, 10 minutes of laughter helped him sleep pain-free for a couple of hours.
It's an amazing thing when those endorphins are released and what it can do for you. And as I said, I'm living proof of it. I'm not just a a line in a textbook or I know it works because I've put the principle to my life, and I've lived it and I've seen it, and I know it has benefits. I'm not guessing this, mate. I'm not thinking, I think it might work.
Yeah.
I flipping know it.
Yeah. Well, obviously I haven't known you your entire life. We've only been friends for probably, I would say, maybe 10 years or so. We've been in contact with each other.
Yep.
And, 2012, you get your diagnosis that changed everything for you. You're given around a year and a half to live is what the doctors gave you at the time, I believe. That's right.
Correct.
So who was Craig Coombes before this diagnosis? What did your life look like prior to this?
Well, I think I was just like everybody else. I went to work. I come home, spent a bit of time with the family, and with me, I've done more work because basically, in the last 12 or since 1997, I started working in the AFL system, and that was along with my day job. So that took up nights and the whole weekend. So I sometimes look back and think I missed a bit of time with my kids because of that, but it was a dream of mine to work in the AFL, and it helped us. The kids never wanted for anything.
Yeah,
we had enough resources, and
you were in scouting, I believe, for the AFL.
Yeah, I worked with Port Adelaide to start with, and I was a talent scout ID for the draft. It was mainly my job.
Yeah,
done that for a few years and got a premiership, and then the Hawthorn come calling, so I went across to them.
Yeah. And so that was
pretty much me before I got diagnosed.
That was after hours. So what were you doing during the day? What was your 9 to 5 job?
Yeah, I was. For the early part of it, I was a TAFE teacher for about 6 years, and then I started doing a bit of work with a couple of students I taught in business management, and then I became a private business trainer where I'd go to organisations and teach everyone for Cert 3, Cert 4s in marketing, management, all that sort of stuff. And it could be a one-on-one client, or it could be a group of 15 or 20 people. So loved the job. Most money I ever earned. Loved it.
And is that
in 3 months?
Is that what you wanted to do out of school? Like you straight out of school, you thought you wanted to be involved in business?
No. Architect was my aim.
All right. So you,
but
George
my
Costanza.
George Costanza, and I wish I'd tell everyone I was an architect, but my mother was very sick, and she was hospitalised. At that stage, I was 18. She'd been in hospital for 11 years, and we'd never had a home. And I said to them, "Can we just take Mum home, for a couple of hours?" And they went, "She needs full medical care because she's paralysed from the neck down completely. Nothing worked. She had a shunt in her head that kept fluid off her brain. She had no sense of taste, no sense of smell. Nothing moved from the neck down. She couldn't feel from the neck down. She had a catheter bag. She had a colostomy bag. And she all ended up with a double mastectomy." So her brain worked fine. Like, she could remember everything. And even when we'd feed her, I hate seafood, and she used to say, "Feed me some." I go, no. And I go, "Mum, but you don't know what it tastes like. It's a waste." She goes, "I remember the taste."
Right.
And because she had no sense of taste. And I'm like, wow. And the nursing home she was in at the time just said, "No, she needs so much care." And I said, "Well, what if I was a nurse?" And they said, "Well, it's different." So I dropped everything I wanted to do, and I applied to be a nurse.
Really?
So I worked at Fairfield Infectious Diseases Hospital.
Yeah.
And I'd done all my training there. And 12 months, I got my certificate. The day I got my certificate, I ran up to the nursing home and went, bang, I'm qualified. And they said, "Okay, you can have your mum home from 10 till 4 every Saturday." So me and Dad got to have Mum at home. So that's where it changed my whole thinking. And after enjoying the nursing, I wanted to upgrade my knowledge, and I became a paramedic. So that's the path I took.
And how long were you doing paramedic work for?
I was 3 years, and unfortunately I snapped an Achilles. So they did offer me a job in the call centre.
Yeah.
And that lasted one day, because I'd call, and it would be one of the guys I trained with, and I'm like, "Oh, Steve, how are you, mate?" And then I'd have to send him to a job, and I'm like, I hate the fact he's going to jobs and I'm stuck in this office. And I just said to him, "I can't do this. I just can't. I'm missing it so much." And then I just didn't know what to do. Yeah. And I ended up going as a 35-year-old, I think I was. Then I'd done a couple of bits and bobs jobs. Then I'm going, someone said, tape's easy for old blokes. Just go in there, you'll get some sort of training and something. And I just said, I don't know. And someone said, you'd be right at marketing. So I'd done a couple of years at TAFE learning to be in marketing. And then, lo and behold, about 2 years after that, one of the guys that taught me, Rod De Silva, who was just magnificent, I remember the day I left there and he said, I want you back teaching here one day. And I went, I'm not a teacher. He goes, yes, you are.
Yeah,
and I went, okay. And then about 3 years, he kept at me for 3 years. Kept at me, phone calls, and in the end I went, okay, all right, I'll do it. I don't know what I'm doing, but all right, I'll do it, because I didn't have any formal teaching training.
Yeah.
He said, your football background, you're a coach, it's similar.
Yeah,
Here's some textbooks, read these over the summer, and in you come and start teaching, and flipping loved it. Absolutely loved it, and that's why it then sent me in that direction. So, yeah.
Mate, I've got to tell you, the courage it must have taken it's courage and devotion to decide that, having your mum at home, the only way that was going to happen, what it looked like was you going and getting that training. It takes a special kind of person to do that. I've, had gone through, unfortunately, the death of all my parents and grandparents and had moments where we've tried to have them at home, and myself and my brothers thought we could look after them and we were just ill-equipped. It's hard. It's hard to look after your parents. So for you to do that, mate, is just I know that your dad was sick for a long time as well,
Yep. It's 16 years he battled for, and Mum battled for 23 before she died. Yep.
Wow. So you've obviously got that resilience gene well and truly passed on.
I hope so, because the thing that you just said then is exactly what one of the doctors told me probably about a year after I'd gone past my use-by date. I had some more radiation. And one of the doctors, she just said, the one thing we cannot tell you and we cannot test you for is the resilience of your DNA. And I told her about Mum and Dad. I said, well, Dad he's still going, and at that point in time he'd been 13 years of battling bowel and stomach cancer. And I said, Mum died, and she'd had 23 years with this illness. And she goes, well, obviously they had a good resilient DNA, and mate, if they've passed it down to you, who knows? And look, Dad died in 2016, so we had 16 years. Mum had 23, and I thought, well, cut it in half. That means I get 19 years. And I thought, I've been going 13 now, so I've got 6 more years to go. And when I think of that, I think, oh no, I don't want to go 6 more years, please.
Well,
no.
Mate, the day that you got told from the doctors, like the true story as to the full story as to what was going on. I know you've spoken previously about the fact that you thought there was going to be 1 or 2 doctors in the room with you, and you had 4 giving you the news.
Correct. One was crying.
Yeah, wow.
And that gave me a clue. I saw where I was crying. I thought, this ain't good news, is it?
No, not when you've got one of your health professionals.
She had tears strolling down, and I thought, I knew I was cactus anyway. I'm not an idiot. I've been in the medical profession, and I had a tumour in my vocal cord, which they had to remove, and I had a thyroid had cancer, which they had to remove. So I thought, there's 2 sides. So straight away, there's a spread from one to the other, whether it's the vocal cord tumour to the thyroid or the other way around. Doesn't matter. I've had a spread. Therefore, it's already metastasised since 3 months. And I knew in my head, I thought, well, I'm cactus, just matters. The only thing is how long they sort of say. And in my own head, I thought, oh, well, I don't know how many lymph nodes were infected at that time. They took 7 that were proximal, and they were all cancerous, and they got them. But they said, we don't know about the distal. And when they done the test and come out and said there were about 30 of them that were infected, then I thought, okay, well, this is going to shorten things a little bit more than I actually thought. And I sort of had a number in my head, 3, 4, 5 years maybe. And then
Yes,
they hit me with
on the actual day that they were telling
yeah.
this news.
Yep. When they're getting ready,
Yeah.
I thought, and then when they told me about I thought 3, 4, 5. When they said about the distal ones, about 30 of them, I thought, well, that'll cut that in half. So it was close to what they thought. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. And when you're sitting there being given that news, it's hard to really comprehend unless someone's actually been through it and been in that situation with a loved one or gone through it themselves. It's it's just hard to imagine, like, whether or not it sinks in immediately, or you just sit with it, and because you didn't have your wife. You were there by yourself when you got given this news too, weren't you?
Yeah, I had to be because I'd had radiation, and therefore I'd already been locked up for 3 days in a room on my own because of the high density radiation.
Right.
So I was had the Geiger counter out, and they had to do tests for 3 days to see when the Geiger counter got to the level that you're allowed back in the community.
Yeah.
And then when I went home, I still had to be isolated from the family for a further 7 days. So I lived in the lounge room, and they could, my 2 kids and my wife could pop in and see me, but spend no more than 10 minutes, and they had to be a metre away from me at the time.
Right.
So on the way home from the hospital, I had to sit in the back left-hand corner of the car, the furthest I could be away from my wife.
Wow.
And it was only about halfway home, and I started to get a bit teary, because when they told me nothing happened.
Did she know? She knew what that meeting was about, though.
She didn't say anything. Yeah, she did.
Yeah.
And when I was just like, I've got to grab all my stuff, we've got to go, don't stand near me. I've got to wave goodbye to the other guy from the other room that we just sort of waved. So I did to him, and I said to her, keep a metre away from me, we've got to get to the car. I was all just, get me in the car, get me home, and we'll chat when we get home.
Yeah.
And she goes, okay. And she was just concentrating on driving. About halfway home, I started to get a bit teary, and it started to hit me then. And she looked in the mirror and said, what's wrong? What's wrong? What's wrong? And I went, pull the car over. And we were driving along Nepean Highway, and there was a service road. So she pulled into the service road, got out of the car, and I just burst into tears. And she went, I said, you've got to keep a metre away from me. Don't touch me. Don't come near me. I was so scared. And she goes, what? Tell me, what did they say? And I told her, and then I just put my arms out and I hugged her, and she hugged me. Was standing on the service road crying her eyes out.
Oh,
then my daughter kept messaging saying, where are you? Because I said I'd go to her work to see her, just to let her know how things were. And I said, I can't come too close, but I'll come to your car park. And when she walked out, I actually collapsed to my knees in the car park and put my hands in my head and started crying. And my wife had to grab her and just hold her and console her and tell her. And then we're getting messages from my son saying, what's going on? Where is everyone? I'm nearly home. And he walked in, and I just shook my head and started crying. And he grabbed me, and he physically punched the wall.
Yeah.
And
how old were they at the time?
Then I grabbed the 3 of them. I said, okay, hang on, stop. 2012, so Rebecca was born in 92, so she was 20, and Joel was 4 years older, so he's 24. So I said to him, stop, everyone just stop. Let's stand together in a circle and stick it. Let's just put our arms around each other. I said, this is what we're going to do. We're going to do our best, and we're going to do it our way. And that might be different for you, Joel, to you it is, Rebecca, to you it is, Janine. But it's okay to do it your way. If you want to get angry, get angry. If you want to just, whatever you need to do to get you through, do it. I'm just going to tell you that I'm here for you to talk to if you need to. And I just think we need to do this as a family for as long as we can.
Yeah.
And then they went, okay, Dad, and let's get on with it. Then I think the hard bit was, Joel, you've got to go and get my dad and bring him here. And he walked in, and I was crying. And he just put his arms out and said, son, no.
Oh, mate.
And I had to tell him, was heartbroken because he said, your mum, me, you, why? What have we done wrong? Why do we deserve this? And I said, Dad, I don't know.
Yeah.
I think we've done anything wrong. And I don't know why. And then he just said, oh, well, and he gave my dad's famous salute and said, let's get on with it. We only know one way, eh? I said, yep. And
it's an insidious disease, isn't it? It's an insidious disease.
Mongrel.
Yeah.
Yep. Mongrel, I think that.
Do you want to have a break? Do you want to?
No, I'm good. Yep.
I don't know. It's well, I know you've told this story numerous times before, and once again, I just really appreciate you, taking the time to share this stuff with me. I really do.
Okay.
So I'm curious. Back then, when you're given that type of news, do your medical team say to you that they suggest you reach out for psychological support, like see a psychologist or something like that? Is that a standard protocol that happened back then? Because I know it's the case now, but was it the case back then?
Yeah, they gave me every resource I needed.
Great.
I chose not to speak to a psychologist because I thought I was okay.
Yeah.
I thought I'd be okay.
Okay.
I've lived with illness, dealt with it all my life. I'll be okay.
Right.
And I thought I'll do things my way.
Yeah. Yeah. And what about that type of support for the family and the extended family? Do they offer it to them as well?
Yes, they did. And I told the family all that, if you need to speak, and their reaction was the same. We'll do this as a family, and we've got some good friends, and I'm sure they'll help, and we'll be in this together.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yep.
Was it there and then that you started to think the philosophy of making the rest of your life the best of your life? Because I know that's been something that has been your catch cry, your motto, the Craig Coombes philosophy for so long. Was it something that happened that day, there and then, or did that develop over time?
No, it was just something that came to mind and straight away. And I said that to all of us. What we've just got to do is make the rest of our life the best. Make the rest of our life the best of our life, or what? So something along that. And then I refined and went, "Oh, that's not a bad mantra. Make the rest of your life." So I thought, instead of talking about me, I could swing it to everybody. So instead of saying, "I'll make the rest of my life the best of life," I thought, no. Let's make the rest make the rest of your life the best of your life, so we can adapt it to everyone.
Yeah.
And you can take it personally. So it did happen that day.
Wow. And so where did the use of humour and laughter and going to comedy clubs, and was that something that was part of your life prior to your diagnosis and getting this life-changing news? Were you already a bit of a comedy aficionado and humour was a big part of your life prior?
No, never been to a live comedy gig. Used to like watching comedies on TV, or if I had a choice of movie to be a funny movie or that, but it was certainly not me at all.
Yeah.
It only changed because of one person, Peter B, my good mate.
Peter B, the famous Peter B.
Well, somebody coined a phrase after all the things he'd done for me, saying everybody needs a Peter B, and I went, yeah, you're pretty right. I mean, he's a mate that just decided when I had to call him and tell him, he was obviously pretty upset, and then he just said, "Well, have you got a bucket list?" I said, "No, I don't, because I didn't think it would come to this, mate." He goes, "Well, think of a bucket list and tell me." I said, "Well, don't flip and have one." He said, "Well, think about it." I said, yeah, whatever. He said, "I'll call you tomorrow." I said, yeah, good on you. I hung up. And I didn't give it a second thought. And the following day, Pete rings and goes, "Righto, bucket list." I said, "Oh, mate, I haven't." He goes, "I told you to think about it." I said, "Well, I didn't. I had a few other things on my mind, champ."
Yeah.
Good on you. And he goes, "Well, come on. whatever comes to mind now, just go. And that means that it's something that's really sitting in your brain. Or is it, okay, I want to meet Adam Hills, Andrew Johns, I want to meet Pink, I want to fly over the Antarctica, and I want an autograph photo of Christy Whelan. Anyway, okay. Sorry. Yeah, after Pink, I said, and meet Nickelback, because I know Pete hates them. And then, said the autograph photo of Christy Whelan, and then thought nothing of it.
You thought you'd set him the impossible tasks.
Well, I didn't even think he'd try for any of them, to be honest, because all of them were like, the only one he could get is probably the autograph of Christy Whelan. He could go to a show she was in and get it autographed. And it must have been a few days, and he said, oh, you've got your tickets to Nickelback, haven't you? I said, yeah, me and Rebecca, we always go, always take her. He goes, well, I've arranged for you to meet them. And I went, yeah, righto. He goes, no, serious? I said, yeah. I thought he's winding me up. I'm going to go to this caravan and whatever and say, I'm Craig Coombes, I'm supposed to be meeting him. And they'll go, what, who? And he'll have the better of me. But lo and behold, I went to the caravan thing, as he told me, and this bloke come down and, oh, g'day, nice to meet you. I'm so sorry what you're going through, blah, blah, blah. Follow me. And we went to a room, and there they were. He goes, oh, hi, I'm Chad. I go, yeah, I know who you are. I'm Mike. Yes, Mike. I know. Yeah, I know. And he goes, you want a photo? And my daughter was being really sick, but she wasn't going to miss it. And I remember her putting a bag down, and she hip and shouldered me out of the way so she could stand next to Chad. Huh. I'm like, no. And the photo was taken, but I'm looking at it now. It's mine, not you. I've got that on my bedside table, that photo. And she's looking not well, but she's near Chad, and I'm on the other flipping side, and I missed out. So, but then it was the Adam Hills one, where he said, hey, he's at a place called the Comics Lounge. I've got free tickets for us to go. That's all he said. And I went, oh, that'd be good, because I like Hillsy on Specs and Specs.
Yeah, awesome.
And we went to see him at the Comics Lounge. Never been there. Yeah. Went in there. And then after the show, I got to move, and Pete goes, no, wait. Someone's meeting us, and we're going to meet up with him. I said, oh, really? He goes, yeah. So I thought it was going to be a shake hands and a photo. And out we went, opened through the curtains, and g'day, and we spoke for about half an hour, and I was the one who called the enter, because I was like, I'm pretty wrecked. I'm knackered. Pete, take me home. He got me to meet Adam Hills. A phone rang one day, and I knew the voice when it spoke, and it was flipping Andrew Johns. And I'm still mates with Joey. To this day, we still message and talk. And he's my greatest sporting hero of all, being a Newcastle lad. Pete also arranged for us to fly over the Antarctica, had a birthday party, and everyone chipped in. And me and Janine flew over the Antarctica. The most breathtaking thing ever done. Met Nickelback. And not only did I get an autographed photo of Christy Whelan, we got tickets to see her in a show, and I met her, and I promised her I'd see her in everything she was in, and I've upheld that promise for almost 13 years, 12 years of seeing her, and I still remain good friends, and I have her name tattooed on my chest. And she said, love.
Nice. Yeah.
And that's where the comedy started, just going to the Comics Lounge to see Hilsey.
But how...
I felt so good the day after.
Yeah, like from laughing the night before, from having been to a show. But how do you go from being an audience member and meeting one of the comics to, like, you know, being part of Adam's, you know, online television shows and specials and theatre shows and the Clown Heart show, like... You've kind of you were like the reluctant comedian. Did he kind of shoehorn you into this and go, you're pretty funny, you should give this a crack?
Yes, and it just stemmed from he came over to my house for my birthday, just a dinner with our family, and we just were chatting, and I'd say a few things and he'd laugh, and he just said, you're just naturally funny. I went, no, I don't think so. And I think Pete goes, no, he's not funny. So, and then he challenged me. He said, look, do 5 minutes of stand-up somewhere. And then Peter B just said, if you're going to try 5 minutes, you may as well try a lot more and do it grand. And he contacted Hills and said, how about we do a gala and raise some money for a cancer charity? And Hillsy just went, yeah, let's do that. and I done about 20 minutes and went all right.
Was that because, for those that don't know, when you're starting out in the comedy industry as a comic, you do your 5 minutes open mic spots and learn your craft, and some people can do 5 minute open mic spots for years before they, attempt 10, 20 minutes. So was your first ever time on stage doing stand-up a 20-minute spot?
Well, just a bit over 25 minutes I actually went, I think. But it was easy because...
How long were you supposed to do? I'm dying to know.
Probably 15. broke the first golden rule.
Comedians, not all, but some of us are quite nostalgic about our first ever time on. Like, I know my anniversary date is April 26, 1998 was the first time I ever walked on stage and did stand-up. What's the date? Are you nostalgic about that date?
27th of May it was.
27th of May.
2014. And I just told stories about things that had happened to me, like in hospital with catheter bags and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
And then it's just how it evolved. And then Hilsey just was coming back to the lounge later in that year. And he just contacted me and said, hey, maybe you can do a few minutes of your stand-up, just 5 minutes before my show. And I went, oh, yeah. He said, we can just crack a couple of jokes. He said, I really don't know yet. And I said, oh, all right. And then the morning of it, I could hardly talk. My voice was just... So Janine rang him and said, you're not going to believe this, but he honestly has got nothing. He really can't talk today, his throat. I've only got one active vocal cord, and I had to have 12 months of speech surgery to talk properly. But some days it just doesn't want to cooperate, and it didn't that day. And he goes, still come. He said, I'll call you up on stage and we'll take it from there. And when the time came, he called me up and said, now, at this point in time, Craig was going to do this. This is Coombes. He's battling cancer, blah, blah, blah. He was going to do 5 minutes, but he can't talk. I don't know what we're going to do. Go in the booth. Have you got any, sassy, sexy music to play? And he said, hit it. And he did, and we just started dancing. He said, just dance. And he started dancing, and he said, I've got a few notes to a song in mind. He said, I'll try to sing it. And I just sort of took my shirt off and around my head, and he started laughing. And he took his shirt off, and he done it. And the crowd was going bonkers. And then I just sort of looked and went, I've got boxers on, I'll drop my jeans. And he goes, yeah, that'd be funny. So I did that, and down the boxer shorts. He did. Show finished. We went into the green room. This lady come running in, and she said, Adam, that's it. That is the perfect finish to your new show. I think the audience love it. And he also goes, do you think about ask Craig if we can do that? I said, I'll do whatever you want. And he said, look, I'm doing a new show at next year's Comedy Festival. I wanted to put you in it. I think I've found a way we can do this. You can do your 5 minutes. I'll show the clip from my show that you're on. Then I'll introduce you. You do the 5 minutes. Then I'll have this song refined. It was called In Your Face Cancer. He said, I can sing it. We can both strip down to our boxer shorts, and the crowd will love it. Are you in? He said, well, I'm doing 15 shows at the Athenaeum. He said, if you can't make it any night, I understand, and I'll improvise and whatever. And I went, okay. Wow. And when it got to that first night, I decided I'd put a G-string on under the boxer shorts. and I didn't tell him.
For the comedy.
Yeah, for the comedy. And I thought, I didn't tell him. And then I was like, nodding, and I pulled out my box shorts. He goes, yeah. I thought, geez, you're a bit too. And I did, and I had the G-string on, and he laughed his head off, and he went, that's even better. That is a great finish. And
is this when Naked Tuesday was born?
No, it was born a little bit before that, which is how Pete got us onto his show.
Okay.
That came about because I walked out into the backyard, and my son was mowing the lawn, and I think he just had his undies on or something. He's a fit young bloke, footballer. And I just thought, I'm going to do that. So I just walked out with nothing on. And he's going, oh, geez, Dad. I'm going, what? I go, hey, let's do this photo. We'll cover the bits up that we're supposed to. And I posted it on my page thinking I'll get a boost from my friends going, what the... And I did realise that a lot of them would love the idea of seeing Joel like that. There were plenty of Joel fans.
Right.
And then they all liked it. So the following week I'd done another one with Joel and that went well. And I thought this will have legs for about 3 or 4 weeks and everyone will drop off. And I just started doing different ones. I'd done a couple outside bus stops and things like that, which I realised in the end I'd be in trouble for doing that because it's public nudity. So I better not do that anymore. And when we were going to see Hillsy's show, Pete just tipped me in about it and said, oh, Coombes is doing this thing. And Hillsy goes, oh, maybe I can do some photos with you. That'd go well. And he did, and was supposed to be on his show once. I was on 3 times that year, and Naked Tuesday, he and Pete sort of decided, hey, this would be really good on its own dedicated page, not just on yours. And I went, no, people won't like this. It'll be over in a few weeks. And Hilsey went, think you might be wrong here. Now, he said, being that you've done some outside, the ABC can't get involved because it's public nudity. But he goes, no, I'll fix it. I'll run it. I'll sort it. Naked Tuesday was born, and 10,000 regular viewers every week until about a month ago I had to sort of pull up stops because it was getting a bit difficult to do it. And Facebook rules were tightening very hard. If they saw your bum, you're getting warnings and you know, all that sort of stuff. So, and it was a bit difficult because I had a heart attack in February and that sort of made things a bit worse. So the page is still there and there's photos still up and people can go to it and have a look. But I'm just going to pop in every month or so and just tell everyone how I'm doing.
Yeah.
And maybe put an old photo up of that. But and it all became infectious and it all become... And I just found that the following day from anything I went to see live, I felt better. I felt better on the way home. I felt better the day after because I recalled some of the jokes. I used to go to the Comedy Sound twice a week, literally for, you know, geez, probably up until COVID hit. So I started going there in 2014. That was 6 years of nearly twice a week. And then just meeting comedians and just falling in love with it because I think it is an art form that gives to the person, but it also gives to the audience. And it just keeps giving because I can remember jokes from 10 years ago that a comedian told and laughed my head off.
Yeah. So let's talk about the benefits from doing it because we know now that you know, the difference between generating humour and appreciating humour. When a comedian's on stage, we're generating it and an audience is appreciating it, hopefully. But there's research to show that making someone laugh in actual fact is more psychologically beneficial than actually laughing yourself. Like, did you find that when you were up there, or like the day after or immediately after? Because I know from a comedian's point of view how much of a buzz I get out of it, but for you, did you notice a difference?
Well, mate, I did not expect that because I didn't know what... I just think you'd tell your jokes and you'd get off and you'd be right. But because of the appreciation you got from the applause and you could see people laughing...
Yeah.
But we've got to understand, I'm in a different space to you.
Of course, yeah.
Because all my stuff is cancer-related, my jokes.
Yeah.
And the audience has made known about that and they know.
Yeah.
So I'm in a safe space. No one's really going to heckle me because it'd be a bit of a mongrel if you heckle a dying bloke. I mean, geez, you know.
Yeah.
And I have a couple of mates who throw barbs, and I understand, you know, and that's okay because I know they're doing it.
Yeah.
So I'm in a safe space. So I actually know that people are going to be kind to me, and I don't have any of that fear that a normal comedian have about this is not going to go well, someone's going to have a crack at me, you know. And after we did gigs with Clown Heart, we'd go into the foyer and just in a bathrobe and we'd collect money for a charity every night, and people would come up to you crying, hugging you. One old lady's like, I come tonight not expecting to hear this. I lost my husband 3 days ago to cancer, and I thought, oh, geez. And she goes, thank you for making it real and giving me a laugh and opened the door back to life. And then I had another lady come up to me and goes, I start my chemo tomorrow. And I said,
Wow.
oh, well, let me know how you get on. And now I've been friends with that girl for 10 years and she has become a really close friend. And I've managed to get several close friends out of either Naked Tuesday or Hillsy's TV show from people just contacting me. But the day after was the thing that I wasn't prepared for, in how up I felt, because I could see people's faces still.
Yourself.
After doing the show,
Yep.
I don't know, I never even asked Hillsy about that. I could see people's faces again laughing. I remember, well, that joke really hit well, you know. I have one joke which is still my favourite, but I know one of my mates hates it. And he says, I said, why? And he goes, because it reminds me what's happening to you. I went, hey, mate, okay, thank you, I love that. But it's simple. I just said, we're going to the airport. This is a joke. We're on our way to the airport, ready to fly to the UK, because Hillsy had invited me onto a show over there.
Yeah.
And my wife's like, no one knows you. You're nothing special. I went, oh, thanks, dear. Just as we got to the airport, I said, I told you I'm special. She said, why? I said, look, my own entrance. Terminal's this way. Now, I think that's quite a funny joke.
Did you go, oh, Craig?
Yeah, exactly. And one mate doesn't like it because he said, it reminds me what's happening to you. I go, mate, I get a reminder every day. But it's funny. It was funny. It's still, Hillsy loved that joke. I remember walking in the bowels of the Opera House when we done it, put his arms around me and said, it really is a clever joke. That is one of the funniest jokes I've ever heard in my whole comedic life.
Yeah. It's
well
amazing,
done, you.
Isn't it, that I say this to comics all the time, you never know who's in your audience. You never know who's in your audience and what they're going through.
No.
Like it was a husband and wife that came up to me on a cruise ship at a gig that I did back in 2012 that changed the entire course of my life. When you've got someone standing there going, I haven't seen my husband laugh out loud for 3 years.
That's a magnificent thing to have as your legacy, mate.
It's
you've created a few, but that's one to.
Well, yeah, but that's
beautiful.
Nice of you to say, mate. Thank you. But
beautiful.
For you, what you've given to those people that have been, like audience members that aren't going through a cancer treatment diagnosis, or aren't living with family members going through it, will view it one way and might have a laugh and think it's funny. But for those other, like you said, a lady's lost her husband, another one's about to start with treatment, what you gave to those people it's priceless.
No, I reckon I got more from it, to be honest, because I could see in them what it meant. Yeah. And I can still see those people's faces. Obviously, Catherine, I'm friends with for over 10 years, and we become good friends. And it was only through Hillsy's show, and that's how I got a lot of my friends through Adam Hills and Naked Tuesday. Now, it's a weird feeling.
Well, it kind of leads me into the next thing that I wanted to talk about. Is in the study of humour, we talk about the different styles of humour, affiliative, which is making other people laugh, and self-enhancing humour, which is a lot of emergency services personnel using, if you're able to use humour as a way of coping with stress or a traumatic instance. Yep. And then you've got aggressive humour, laughing at the expense of someone else, or self-defeating, laughing at the expense of yourself. And there's so much research to support the fact that self-enhancing humour, using humour as a way of coping with a negative life event, is by far the most beneficial. Like, it's also beneficial to create the laughter, but using humour as a way of coping with stress and trauma, it's, there's research to show that it improves life satisfaction, quality of life, reduce stress, anxiety, depression, reduce suicide ideation, all of these things. Wow. So and you're living testament to it.
I think it's true.
Yeah. So with the just talking about those connections that you've had through the comedy industry, and what does friendship mean to you now? You've got Peter B, who's gone above and beyond, but we live in a time where loneliness and isolation is so rampant. It's connectedness. What you get out of it it's incredible.
To me, I think it's the most important thing, because there are days, though, I must admit, where I still feel pretty lonely.
Yeah.
But I've got a massive network of people that I can rely on.
Yeah.
It's 5 of us in the chat group. 3 guys I used to work with, Peter B, Jason, and Michael. We used to work together 20 years ago, and we're still friends. We're heading out for a dinner in a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
And one other guy, Jono, who I met through Naked Tuesday, who's become like a brother to me. He calls me 3 times a week at least, and we chat for an hour. And my wife goes, you haven't been anywhere, and you've spent 3 hours this week talking to Jono on the phone. We talk footy, we talk everything, and he's like a brother, seriously like a brother. So those guys, we chat, and it's a lot of joking stuff and poking fun at each other, and because I sent a photo to them and said, let the ridicule begin, and they went, when did the ridicule ever stop? I went, well, that's true. And every now and again I jumped in the other day, I said, okay, sorry to be serious for a change, but just letting you know what's happening. I've got this test and this one because I had an advanced care plan done, and they were like, hey, is that you're doing or your doctor? I said, no, my doctor. They said, so are things going south? And I went, look, I'm just having these tests and whatnot. And I said, can we get back to being the idiots that we are? And, I got an AI generated photo of them as all grumpy looking bikers, and they're going, how come you're tallest? And I went, I didn't do it. The AI flipping bloke done it. So, but that group, with that connectedness with them,
yeah,
and each one of those guys have done so much for me. Pre-COVID, I was really struggling. Michael lives a fair distance away. He'd bring over cooked meals, so my wife didn't have to worry about cooking for a few nights.
Yeah.
And Jason brought stuff to me. His wife was at the Cadbury factory, and she got a box of chocolate. He knew I was a chocolate freak. He brought that over to me. Jono used to visit my house once every week, and we'd have a barbecue lunch together, and he'd cook the meat and all that for me, and bring a rice custard like only my nanny used to cook, no blowflies.
Yeah.
And Peter B, I mean, all the things he's done for me, continually done for me, not just those bucket list wish and getting them all done, but then other things from then, and that we've spent a lot of time together watching our sons play footy as they grow up and going to that. But then there's different groups where, there's not a lot of laughter stuff going on. It's just how you're doing stuff and how you're coping stuff. So I have so many different arms that I can hold on to.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they are all so important to me. If I didn't have that connectedness through my friendship circles, I don't think I'd be here, mate. I really don't.
Yeah. Yeah.
I can honestly say that.
Yeah. Well, we talk about loneliness being a killer, like isolation. And for someone like yourself who's going through what you're going through, it would be even more so. And so having that, I'm so glad that you've got that extended network, and it kind of speaks to the difference between sympathy and empathy. Like having your friends going, mate, if I was dealing with all that shit, I'd be struggling too, and I get it, as opposed to someone going, poor Craig kind of thing.
Yeah, no, I always, when I message someone, I'll say, how you doing? They'll go, yeah, things okay, but more importantly, how you doing? I go, no, it's not more important how I'm doing. Yeah. I ask you the question. Don't worry about me. This is about you.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they go, oh, well, actually, this happened. Okay, well, I'll keep you in my mind. I'm really sorry you're going through this.
Yeah.
I'm here if you need me. I don't, and I always say, I'm not putting this up to seek your sympathy. I just inform you what's going on in my life. And if you want to support me, support me. If you don't, you don't. And look, I've lost some friends along the way because obviously there were conditions attached to the friendship. They were getting something out of it. When they stopped getting something out of it, I was no longer of use. And I went, it pretty much sucks when you do that, but that's life. Some people are just like that. They're in it for something. And look, obviously with my connections with Hilsey, people would go, oh, can you get him to sign this DVD? And I go, no. He's my friend. Yeah. They go, oh, you caught up with Hilsey lately? Yeah. Oh, you didn't put a photo up. Well, I don't take a photo with all my friends anytime I see a friend. They go, yeah, but it's Adam Hills. I go, I forget that it's Adam Hills because to me, he's Hilsey.
He's just a
mate.
We're
now mates.
Yeah.
He's just a mate. And I don't do that when I see Peter or them.
Yeah.
So I get that some people I've lost my thrill, or some people caring had a timeline, in their mind, 5 years is long enough, done. But I'm so glad that I've got so many people who have not. And look, Christy Whelan was like this, because I remember saying to her, I could understand if a kid's sick, you do these things. And she goes, I don't care how old you are. And I thought, that I really appreciate. She didn't care that I was 49 years old. She's still done things for me to make me feel happy and better.
Yeah.
And for that, I always... And her husband, Rowan Brown, is also in the theatre industry, lovely bloke, fantastic bloke, very gifted. And I remember seeing them both one day together, and he goes, oh, show me your tattoo with Christy's name. And I showed him, and he goes, oh, it's pretty cool. And I said, have you got her name tattooed on her? He goes, no. I went, well, mate, well, I have, And he goes,
how many names do you have on you, Craig?
I've got yours on me, you know that.
Oh, yeah, I know. That's very...
He leaned into me. I was
quite taken back when you asked me, to be honest.
I'll get to that reason, but Rowan whispered in my ear, you've got a name tattooed on you, but I take her home every night. And I went, you in?
Yeah, but you take her to bed every night too.
Oh, I said that. I'm going to message him after this. Thank you, sir. And do you know the reason why I ask you? I've got signatures or initials of people on my left arm, which I call my life arm. My right arm is dedicated to my family. I got a couple on my chest. And I decided to do that for people who went over and above helping me. And I remember a mate one day say, what have I got to do to get on your arm? I said, one, don't ask. Because it's no... you don't ask. It's just people who have done something over and above and done a few things. Is there a criteria? Yes, there's a criteria. Because if there wasn't, I'd have 10,000 signatures on me because I've met thousands of people.
Yeah.
I remember one of my mates, Pete, goes, we've got a lot of room. I went, yeah, good on you. But it's only for when people go over and above, when they do something for me that they didn't have to, or said something, or have been there in remarkably difficult times for me that I thought, I need their signature or their name, and I go through it every night when I go to sleep, and I say good night to everyone before I roll over, and I say thank you. Now, you're on there. Do you know why? I don't think I've ever told you. Do you know why?
Well, I don't actually think you've told me why. I know that when you asked me, you just said something like, I just want to put significant. I think I was around the same time as Kat Davidson.
And Stav, I didn't know Kat was married to Stav, and I used to watch that kid show in the afternoon, and I loved it. When she said she was married to him, I'm like, oh gosh, I want to meet him. I'd love to meet him, and I did meet him, which is cool. And he'd done some things over and above, so he got his name on me. Kat had done a truckload of things over and above, so she got a name. One, you entertained me as a comedian, you made me laugh, and you made me feel good, and you were kind to me and all that sort of stuff. But here's the thing, and I'm sorry if I get upset. I've been trying to get myself ready for this for 2 days.
So have I, to be honest, because,
You know, you saved my life. You saved my life. You physically saved my life. Do you remember when?
Was I on the radio?
You were on the radio, you and Kat.
I think I do remember that now. You were having a hard night.
I was in bed. Kat said she was doing some radio with you, and I thought, I'd like to hear Mark again. I thought, one, it's going to be funny, and there was some funny stuff in there, but there was some serious stuff in there. I had planned that night to open up my drawer, and I got a lot of medications, so I think you know where I'm going.
Yeah.
And I listened to you both while I was laying in bed. I can't remember the exact words you said, but I closed the drawer. I had the drawer open, Mark.
Yeah.
I got out of bed, I closed the drawer. I thought, why did I even think of that? And then I put my head on the pillow, and I thought, you know what, I'm not going to cry myself to sleep tonight, which I do a lot of the time. I often say I'll have a smile on my pillow and no tears. And I made a point of saying, no tears tonight, because 2 people just saved my life. Because I fully intended that wasn't going to be the case. And I was just listening to you because I love Kat and I love you, and thought this will be just a bit of fun for me. And it's amazing what words can do, and when people mean it. And then 2 days later, I remember sending you that message saying, do you mind could you sign a bit of paper and I could take a photo and send to me? Do you mind if I get it tattooed? And you went, what? I went, yep, I just, over and above, and I didn't tell you why. And I just said, all you need to know is you're important to me, and over and above. And look, I've got a lot of friends, and they all know their importance, but there are some that have just gone over and above. If you save someone's life, it's a pretty big step. And look, I say Peter B has prolonged my life, and Adam Hills has prolonged my life, and most of the people have prolonged my life. There's only 2 people I say that have saved my life, and that's Kat and you.
Well, mate, I just
sorry, but I just had to tell. I thought this was the perfect opportunity.
So that's
to tell you how important words are.
You'll never know what that means to me, and I know Kat would feel the same. And like we were talking a little while ago, you never know who's listening, who's in your audience, and what they're going through. So mate, I've been doing stand up for 27 years this year, and there's certain significant events throughout your career, that like meeting that couple on the cruise ship, and that changed the course and certain things. But no, I really appreciate you shared that with me, mate, because I can't begin to imagine what that night was like for you, and the fact that we were able to
You said my name on that night. You actually gave me a shout out on that night.
Oh, whenever Kat and I get together, and it's you're never far.
Yeah, you said, we know a mate of ours in Melbourne's listening.
Yeah,
and they, Coombesy or Craig, or we're thinking of you, mate. Blah 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 blah. And anyway, sorry, you can move on.
Well, it's mate. I'm grateful for you to share that with me, and I'm so happy that whatever it was that we talked about that night was significant enough to make a difference, you know.
And it's never got to that point again. So,
well, that's good to hear, mate.
Thank you.
Which kind of you know, I want to ask you this question. It's been a question that I've been toying with for the last couple of days, whether or not I was going to ask you this, but I am curious. So, you know, you've told me that we can talk about anything in our chat.
Absolutely.
Prior to this chat, I went back and listened to a couple of chats that you did with Will Anderson on Willosophy. And the last one was done, I think it was about December 2020, right?
Yep.
And you were really going through some stuff at that point in that chat, and you know, and Will's fantastic as a comic, as a host, and I learned a lot about him as well as you. Going through that,
right, man.
I have so much more respect for him now as well. But it highlighted for me the fact that you've got to tick a lot of boxes that you thought that you never would be able to tick. You know, like you've walked your daughter down the aisle, you've seen your grandkids be born, which is, you know, I know you've spoken about when you got your initial diagnosis, you were thinking that these were the big ticket items that you were going to miss out on, you know.
Yep. Correct.
And so, you know, 2020, the end of 2020, you really up against it from what I can hear in that podcast and that you did with Will. And so I'm just a little bit curious as to, you know, how's the last 4 years, but like, you know, what are we now, 4.5 odd years later, you know, something's, what's going on for you now?
At the end of 2021, because we missed out on, you know, like those COVID years of my granddaughter, we couldn't hardly see her.
Yeah.
My daughter asked, would me and my wife like to move house and live with them? My daughter, my son-in-law, and Lola. Okay. So we'd been in the same house for 22 years. And I thought about it. I thought I'd missed that time with her. I'd love to have some time with her growing up. So we said yes. My daughter gave up the master bedroom for us, which is an ensuite, which is 4 steps away from where I am sitting now on my bed, which was a huge thing for her to do, to give up the main part. I had like a little lounge room area, which I've turned into mine.
Yeah.
And then the family room down the back where sort of all Lola's stuff is, but she obviously spends a lot of time in my room and with all the books and all that. And that really gave me a spur to see her and, you know, watch her take her first steps and hear her say Papa for the first time. And it was like, wow. It was quite incredible. It was just one of the most absolute sheer joy. And then seeing my daughter being a mother, and my son-in-law is one of the best blokes you'll ever meet in your life. He's just such a good husband, a good father. He's a FIFO worker, does 2 in, 2 out, up in the mines, up in the top of WA. So it's handy because my wife then helps a lot more with Lola.
Yeah.
So helps Rebecca. So that was part of the reason. So he can go and work in mines. That would help them get ahead financially. And, you know, it was a really good thing for us to happen. And we could bring our dogs. We had 2 dogs, and she said, yep, they can come. I'm like, oh, wow. Sadly, one of them passed away about 9 months after it, and I really missed that big girl so much. But I still got my little mate. It has been a very difficult time physically, more so because I've started to lose a little bit of mobility. I had succumbed probably 8 months ago to a shower chair because I was struggling to stand up for too long.
Yeah.
But in February this year, I had a heart attack at home in the morning, and poor little thing seeing me out on a stretcher with lines in me, going to an ambulance. She didn't sort of know what was going on. And when I come back, they end up putting a stent in, a 99% blockage in one of the stents, and it was not on my bingo card, and it's certainly made things a lot more difficult. I even went for a walk this morning for the first time in a month, and it knocked me about so much. Having trouble with my breathing, so we're trying to get to the bottom of that, whether it's just the medication, and then if that's the case, I've got to put up with it, or if it's anything else going on with my heart. So I've had some tests, and I've got more coming up, echocardiogram, and then see the cardiologist. But so it's led to an 18-kilo weight loss. My diet's improved, but physically, I can't sleep on my back on my left side because I get breathless at night, so I have to sleep on my right, which means I've got a really crook shoulder, hip, and I've got prolapse disc in my back, so they're really copping it. So I'm on some pretty heavy-duty painkillers. I'm on other medication for my heart, 17 different medications a day, and I know that's not good for me, and I struggle a bit with anxiety, which is something that never occurred, and the odd panic attack in the middle of the night, which is really hard to live in. And I feel for my wife at 3 or 4 o'clock when this happens. She's the one trying to calm me down and trying to relax me. And I had a terrible problem with nausea. And this probably was heightened when I tried medicinal cannabis. My GP wanted me to get on that, and it didn't work with me. We tried 3 different avenues. There was a liquid, and there was a gel, and then there was a gummy, and no matter what happened, I ended up having horrendous nausea and really bad panic attacks. So they figured out that, I'm obviously can't cope with that. So because I was just trying to find different pain things. I've had months of injections of cortisones, and I had a thing called denervation where they burnt the nerves, and they were hoping that would work, and that didn't work. Cost about $5,000, and that didn't work. So I've really just thrown my hands up and said, no more. I don't want to have any more treatment. I don't want to know any answers to anything relating to my cancer. I will with my heart. I'll have procedures done, and I'll know. But I was due for a full body scan probably 2 years ago, and I just refused. They did say, we can do the test but not tell you. And I went, nah, I don't want to go through it all. I've had enough. Just let it take its course, and so be it. I'm happy with that. The heart attack has certainly made things a lot worse, and I did contact a few friends saying, what did you think when I heard it? And they were shocked. They were like, I never thought. One of the guys in our 5 of us in our group, he just goes, and the flipping thing couldn't kill you. I went, no. Because I always said, if not, I think my heart's the only thing that's keeping me going. Nothing's ever happened to it. While it's in good shape, I'm in good shape. Well, it tried to kill me, and I chat regularly to a very high-profile cabaret artist by the name of Ruben K. I get on exceptionally well with Ruben. We have for years, and he's brilliant. Not only is he a brilliant performer and a spokesperson for LGBTQI+, and I just love him for the field he is in that. He is great with me, with talking to me and chatting to me. And I remember messaging him. He found out I had the heart attack, and he was in shock. And he's pretty funny how he talks to me. I laugh, He called me babe, and I laughed because I thought my wife's never called me babe in 38 years of marriage, and he does it all the time. I thought he knows it just makes me laugh, And I said, Rube, I haven't cried yet since the heart attack. I haven't had that emotional letdown or the why me that I thought would happen. And he said, babe, the reason is it tried to kill you and it didn't. And you won. So this is a positive that you've had out of this. Whereas the cancer was a very big negative. You beat the heart attack.
Yeah.
So your subconscious is seeing this. This is not a defeat. This is a win. You've now got a stent in. That's not going to kill you anymore. I thought, I think that emotional letdown is coming soon.
Yeah.
I had a good friend who died on the weekend. really close friend. And I had a little bit of a cry, but still nothing major. And I'd done an advanced care plan, just putting things in place around end of life where I have the say, which my GP suggested. So I thought, has he got some information I don't know about this heart, and he said, I think it's wise you do this. So I did. We had an advanced care person come to our house and go through things. And then when she spoke about the heart, she said, it's not uncommon at the 6-month mark for post-heart events for people to really have a big problem with depression and low mood. And I said, well, I'm 5.5 months. She goes, so just be aware of that and be conscious of that. And I thought, okay, here's another flipping hurdle to get over. And I mean, they suggest you join a heart group or people who've had heart attacks and whatnot. So I did on Facebook, and I actually did ask them. I said, g'day, this is what I've been told. Has this happened to anyone? And I only done that this morning, and I've had a truckload of people go, oh, it hit me hard at 6 months. And some people go, oh, yeah, get ready, I'm like, oh, geez, it's 5.5 months. Here we go again. So it's been difficult. It is harder now than it ever been physically. And I also think mentally. I do have a psychologist I speak to once a month, and he's great. But I get frustrated that sometimes I can't think of what did he tell me to do? What does he advise me? And I just don't know whether that's my brain just not functioning as good as it used to, and I can't remember a lot of things sometimes.
Just record
a lot of short-term stuff.
Just record the sessions.
Okay.
on your phone, just tell him that you're doing it.
Yep.
And just use the voice recorder on your phone.
Okay.
He'll be fine with it because it enables you to recall the information.
And that's what I've been needing to do because, mate, I'm certainly at the hardest point, I think.
Yeah. Well, I'm sorry to hear that, mate.
That's all right. I'm okay. Okay.
The fact that you've had the presence of mind and the ability to put that plan in place with your medical team, do you think there's a lack of understanding or a lack of education around the differences between euthanasia and voluntary assisted dying?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. It's way too... We have no idea. I mean, as a society, we don't, because it's one of those things that any time you try to bring up people taboo it, you're like, no, people don't want to talk about it. Like, I'm open about talking about anything. And, people say, oh, have you thought about the assisted dying? Of course I have. I know all the 68 protocols of it. Not off my heart, but I know there are 68 protocols. I know the system of what has to be in place. I've certainly looked at that. People go, have you, some people go, I don't know if I can ask, have you thought about going ahead with this or not? I said, of course I have. Of course I have. Have I done it? Maybe I have, maybe I haven't.
Yeah.
But, mate, we need truckloads of education.
Oh,
and it's people like you who are the ones that are helping get this out there.
It is out there, and I think, it's not until you've lived it with a family member or a loved one where you've seen someone go through end of life not well, and a lot of suffering, and none of us want to see our loved ones suffer.
I don't think anyone would begrudge me, surely.
No.
I think all my friends and my family not all my family, my wife would have a difficulty with it.
Yeah.
Because she is a devout Christian, has been her whole life. She would not be comfortable with this. I know she's not, and that's why I done the end of life, because I want my decisions, and my decision would be, if I've got tubes hanging out me, take them out, I'm out. She doesn't want to go on without me, and I get that.
Yeah.
But I think she'll be okay. She's tough, and she's got her faith. I think she'll be fine. If it was the other way around, I'd struggle without her, because she does a lot for me. Every night she puts my medication in place, because I messed it up a couple of months ago, and so she does my tablets, puts me in my things from, she goes anywhere with me, she takes me where I need to go. So yeah, it's tough. So, but I don't think you or any of my good friends would begrudge me if I decided, you know what, I want to push the button. I've had enough. I've fought a good fight. I've seen what I wanted to see. Way more than I thought. And maybe I did have a mate who said, mate, you've taught us to love more. I thought, gee, that's nice. Maybe I have. Maybe I've taught people a bit about friendship and how important it is, and about how staying connected is important. So maybe I've done my thing.
Well,
yeah.
You've brought hope, Craig, I think, to a lot of people, have you thought about how much hope that you have brought to so many people that you may never know? You'll never know, Craig, the reach of the impact that you have had, and hope is something that we really, I know in the field of suicide prevention that I work in, we talk about the importance of the voice of lived experience, because it creates hope for those people that might be feeling in a situation that they're feeling like they don't have any hope. And hearing from someone that's living it and has lived it can bring hope. And, mate, I have no doubt that you've given hope to so many people.
Thank you. Yeah, I understand that. The psychologist has mentioned that too. And I think, it's, and I do know because people have messaged me, but as you say, there's some people who never will, because that's just them. But it may have changed something. And I often get messages of people going, I've just watched Clown Heart. I loved it. And look, if anybody wants to, it's out there you can buy it on YouTube or whatever. I don't get any royalties, but don't worry about it.
We'll make sure we find a link to that and make sure it's in the show notes, so that way people can track it down.
Yeah, it's on YouTube. You can rent it for, I don't know, probably 10 cents these days. I don't know, not much. But Hilsey always said to me when he had this idea about filming Clown Heart, he just said, just live until we make the video. And I remember walking out on the stage of the Apollo Hammersmith, he said that, and he goes, you made it. And I went, yay! And I saw him last year, and I said to him, I made the video. I said, now I'm keen to go, and for some unknown reason, I'm still not going. And he was out here recently, and I couldn't get to catch up with him. I just wasn't well enough. And he said, we'll do it. We'll do it late in July or early August. I'll come over for a coffee and we'll just have our catch up. And I went, yeah, that'd be great, mate. And so it's just lived till the video, and that was filmed in 2016. Jeez, mate.
I know. Look at you go, right? Hey?
Look at me go. Yep.
All right, let's wind it up, Craig. So, having said that, I've got 4 questions that are
short and sharp answers.
Short and sharp answers, which are basically centered around self-care, and these are reminders, like mental health reminders that I do in my Laughter Clinic presentations when I do them live, right? And so the questions are, what makes you happy? What are you grateful for? What are you looking forward to? And what's made you laugh recently?
What was the first one?
What makes you happy?
People.
Other people. Social connection.
Yeah, friend connection makes me happy. I always get a laugh out of that.
Yeah. And isn't it, just on that, I think it's incredible that we're starting to really acknowledge the importance of social health. We talk about mental health and physical health, but social health. Like I've been recently diving into the blue zones, the places, there's 5 places in the world where people are living to 100, but they're not only living to 100, they're living to 100 well. And Okinawa is probably the most famous one. And they talk about the importance of social connectedness and intergenerational living. 3-4 generations of people living under the same roof.
Well, that's what we're doing.
Yeah.
3 generations here, and maybe that's a reason.
Yeah. Okay, so it makes you happy, love it. What are you grateful for, Craig?
People.
Yeah.
Again, I actually do say that to people. I'm grateful for you, and I appreciate you. Will Anderson taught me that one.
Yeah.
And every message with Will, which is often every week we message, he will always say, I appreciate you and I love you. And I mean, when I done that first one with Will, it was the first time I met him in person when I was leaving, put his arm on my shoulder and he said, anything I can do, I will do. he's been true to that word, and he's been over and above. And he just, I remember seeing him, was it a year ago? Might have been, yep. And when we left, he always says, I appreciate you. But he then said, I love you. I said, sorry? He said, I love you, mate. And I was like, oh, thank you, and I love you too, mate. I thought, wow, he really wanted to make sure I heard him say it, not just write it. And I think that's important. And I often say I'm grateful for my friends and family.
Yeah. Yeah, it's amazing how just a simple random message to someone, you know, letting them know that you're grateful that they're in your life. And
correct.
Yeah, it means a lot. What are you looking forward to? You know, you got something coming up, like, you know, with the family, or I always say to people that this could be absolutely anything. It could be the last episode of Married at First Sight. I mean, when will that shit be over?
Oh, God. Yeah, I'm having dinner with my mates, which we haven't had for a few years. I'm looking forward to that, and that's really going to drive me. And I love Beetlejuice, the musical. I've been to it a few times, and I'm going one more time at the end of the month. I'm going to have dinner with a friend, and then going to see the show, and then I'm going to catch up with Eddie after it. I know Eddie perfect, and I love Eddie.
What a genius he is.
Well, that's what I call him. I say that. I said it to his face, and he is. And I have a couple of other friends in the show, and I know this is a fangirl moment, but there's a guy called Andy Carl who you probably are not aware of, but he is a Tony Award-winning theatre star in the US.
Okay.
And I've followed him for a few years, and he done Groundhog Day in America, and he's brilliant. He came out here to do Groundhog Day, and I saw it in Melbourne 4 times, I think 5 times probably. And I remember going to the stage door thinking, well, he's not going to come out here because he's a star. They'll get him out the back some way, so I'll never get to meet him. And he walked out the door, and I just, Andy Carl. He's like, hey, how you doing, buddy? I'm like, Andy. And he stopped and had a chat with me for ages. And then one of the other cast members who I'm friends with must have tipped him into what's going on with me, because the next time we met, he went, hey, I just got to say, well done to you for what you're going through, and I really, you know, kudos to you, and I love Andy Carl. And then for my birthday, he sent me a birthday message. Went for about 5 minutes. He spoke, he sang. I'm blown away. Well, his partner is in Beetlejuice.
Yeah, right.
So she played the lead opposite him in Groundhog Day, and then obviously something sort of lit up during that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, he's been back to Australia probably 4 times in the last year just to see her, and she's been over there to see him. Well, I saw her the other day at the end of Beetlejuice, and she goes, Andy's out for the whole month of August. He's coming every night to pick me up after the show. Oh, geez. Okay. I'm buying tickets.
It's a perfect storm.
Done. And I've already bought my ticket for next week. And I'll be heading, as soon as the show's over, bang, straight around there to see Andy Carl. He called me his Aussie mate with the big beard. So I'm looking forward to meeting Andy Carl again, because I never thought I would.
That is something pretty cool to look forward to, man.
Huge, hey? Mate. It was huge.
Yeah. Yeah, we often talk about the fact that it's important to have things to look forward to. When you've got something like that means so much to you.
It is massive. So I'm going to do everything I can this next week to get me to that show, believe me. And I'll be going, hurry up, show finish, hurry up. Which I love the show. I listen to the soundtrack. It's great. It talks about death and dying, and it's just beautiful how it does it all in a comedic way and in a heartfelt way.
Yeah.
Great message. I do encourage people, you've only got a month to go, get out and see it. And then it'll probably come to Sydney next year. So
yeah.
Highly recommend. And the last question?
The last one is what's made you laugh recently?
Beetlejuice has been probably the catalyst.
Yeah.
Because I did actually watch the songs from it again yesterday.
Yeah.
And because it laughs at things that I'm dealing with, I sort of, really laugh.
Yeah.
Because there's one part, the opening song is the whole being dead thing. And Eddie sings about it, saying this show is all about death, so get ready.
Yeah.
And a few friends have said, when they heard the soundtrack, and I said, did Eddie think of you when he wrote this line? I went, no. I said, but he knows of you well. And yeah, because this sounds like you. And there's a part in the song that says, from the cradle to cremation, death just needs a little conversation. I have mastered the art of tearing convention apart.
Wow.
And I thought, well, maybe it might have been in there subliminally. He didn't write it thinking Craig Coombes wrote it, but maybe it was in there because I actually think that does fit, because I have done things unconventionally, like Naked Tuesdays. Yeah, I've torn convention apart a bit. So
yeah.
I'm looking forward to seeing it one more time. And
you've given so much, mate. You've given so much to the world. You know, I know the comedy industry is so much richer for having you be a part of it. You know, it really is.
I just encourage people to go and see live comedy. It's not like what you can do on the TV. It's got nothing. And I guarantee you're going to feel better. On your way home, you're going to think of the jokes. You're going to feel better tomorrow when you go to work or whatever. You'll have a takeaway joke that you used. David Smeet used to tell a great takeaway joke that he'd tell everyone that you could tell. My dad told me that joke, David Smeet's joke, the night before Dad died. And he said, how good's life? He was in the hospital. He knew he was just about to die. He was in palliative care. And he had a can. One of my mates brought a can of rum into him. He said, I'm having a drink. I get washed by beautiful Sheilas. And I can tell great jokes like this. And he told David Smeet's joke about the train station joke.
Little Johnny in the train station?
Yep. My dad.
Any complaints about the 3-hour delay?
Yeah. Go talk to me, mum, in the kitchen. Yeah. Dad knew that joke.
Yeah, great.
And the only other thing that Dad, he wanted things to take with him, and I'm going to do that with me. I'm going to have a list of things I want in my coffin.
Yeah.
And Dad wanted a piece of corduroy.
Okay.
Because he loved Kehoe Jackson's joke about when you're fat, don't run wearing corduroy because you'll self-combust. And I told Dad that joke, and he laughed. I said, why are you laughing? He said, because you're fat. And it's funny. His dad's nickname was Gandhi because he was built like a twig. So it wasn't him, but he goes, that's you. You'll combust. That's funny. That's why you don't run. And I told Kehoe, and she sent me a piece of corduroy.
Good on her.
I said that went with my dad. So,
she's a good egg, KL.
Yeah, she's been crook. And I actually thought, you know what? I'm going to take a piece of corduroy with me.
Yeah, right.
My funeral's going to be on a Tuesday. It's going to be an open casket.
Please don't tell me you're going to ask us all to be naked at it.
Oh, no, yous don't have to be. But I will be in the thing. That is guaranteed. So it's up to you. People will be alerted. It's an open casket, but he will be totally naked and laying on his back. So if you want to go, be aware of the situation. I think it's the right thing to do, mate, on the way out.
Yeah.
I've had a blast.
Mate, just any final thoughts or messages that you may have for someone that's, stuck with us for the journey, for our chat, and that might be going through something tough, like either themselves or a family member that's going through some challenging stuff at the moment. Any pearls of Craig Coombes' wisdom you'd like to share as we wind it up?
Make the rest of your life the best of your life.
Beautiful, of course.
And we've told you how to do it during this show, through this chat.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I encourage people to share what we have spoken about with others. And you can get in touch with me. You find me on the socials. I'll reply. I'm on Instagram.
Yeah.
I'm on Naked Tuesday's got a Facebook page. You can message. I still check the messages. If you want to talk about something, I said I'm on Instagram. It's Coombesy or Papa Coombesy maybe. But yeah. Find me, send a message if you want. By all means, just be a good, decent human.
Yeah, reach out, support each other. It's like the age-old, there's a reason why so many of the religions are say, do unto others as you want to do unto you. You know, look after yourself. Remember our old friend Dave Grant, you know, look after yourself, brothers and sisters. That's what it's all about.
Yeah. Onto yourself as well. Don't forget that.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Mate, I know I said it at the start, but, you know, I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful for you agreeing to do this. I'm so grateful for the fact that we've been in touch for some, like, you know, you have people in your life that we all do life, and you go through, you know, life very fortunate to have certain people that you cannot talk to them for 12 months.
Yeah, it feels like yesterday.
And then as soon as you strike up that conversation,
it feels like yesterday. Yeah.
It does, you know, and I take ownership for not being in touch as much as what I wish I was.
That's life, mate. But as I told you, your name is on my arm. So we haven't lost the connection. It's only in a physical sense, but we're never disconnected. Never.
Yeah, mate.
And we'll never be.
I love you.
So that ink, it permeates into my heart. That's what I reckon.
Yeah,
maybe that's why I had a heart attack. All you flipping people with your name on me. Too much ink in my heart.
Too much ink. Craig Coombes, mate, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much.
It's been my pleasure.
I
appreciate you, mate.
And your family, mate. We'll talk to you soon.
You too. Thanks, buddy.
Cheers, dude.
Thank you for listening. The information contained in this podcast is for educational and entertainment purposes. It is not intended, nor should it ever replace, advice received from a physician or mental health professional. Want more info? Visit thelaughterclinic.com.au. If you enjoyed the episode, please share and subscribe. Thanks again for listening to a Laughter Clinic podcast with your host, Mark McConville.